Like, you remember around Halloween? Like I don't know if you were ever old enough to remember, like, but around Halloween, they won't sell eggs unless you're 18 or older in a lot of places.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
cannot
Or
purchase
toilet
eggs.
paper.
Yeah.
So what did they call the night before Halloween where you lived?
We didn't call it anything.
In
The
Jersey,
witching
it's a big
night or
thing. It's
something?
called Mischief Night, and a lot of
Just don't want anyone to throw catfish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, dude, I would say like half of the people participated in Mischief Night. I personally never really participated. I did go around with people who were not destroying, but like defacing homes and such, but I didn't participate. I
did. I was a big fan of that. We mostly egged and mostly eggs. And I'll be honest, we didn't egg the kind of houses that I thought it would damage. Like, you wouldn't egg a painted house. It takes the paint off. But you egg a brick house or a vinyl siding house, especially if it's someone you know. Now, if you're getting someone you know, there's no guilt, because a random egging is kind of shitty, I'll admit. But if you're egging someone you know, especially someone you dislike, that's a different story.
Aren't you
also,
just really punishing the parents of someone you know?
That's even better, because the parents will make the kid clean it, of course, and they'll be like, "What the fuck did you do that people are showing up here and throwing tomatoes?" That is a quarter-pound tomato that someone hurled at my birdhouse.
Like, all right, here, I got a plan. Hear me out. So we're gonna get Mark a house, and then his parents will assume that Mark is responsible for this through his bad behavior, and they will make him clean the house. They could have many kids. And
I know this guy. If they did, I would also go to school with those kids. These aren't strangers. I know this guy. We are getting his house because we know it will cause problems for him with his parents, and he will have to clean it. It's very
targeted. Know how much you hate him too, because they'll be like, "Oh, they didn't just throw eggs. Your friends must really hate you if they sprung for this many tomatoes in the middle of February." You know,
see, that's the thing. Scott's grandfather owned a produce stand, and he would give us the rotten tomatoes with a wink and a smile. With a wink and a smile, he'd say, "Have fun, boys," and give us a basket of them. Because it's a tomato, right? Like, I guess if you had a car with it, it's a little acidic. Maybe it'd take the paint off. But we're throwing tomatoes at trailers and shit.
Kyle's like, "Hey, I got an idea, guys. Let's go out on Mischief Night. We'll go to Mark's house. We'll burn his house down with his parents in it. And when he gets home, he'll find out he's an orphan and homeless.
And then we'll get him with the tomatoes. Round 2, you know?"
Hey, we like to go out and have
there's nothing wrong. I mean, eggs is definitely worse. I see the lowest level of that as TPing, which I think you kind of grow out of a little sooner, and you don't get as much into if you live in a rural area.
Have you ever forked someone? You ever fork a yard?
I've never forked a yard. I've been there post-forking at a friend's house.
Yeah, so forking a yard, for the uninitiated, is when you see plastic forks are very cheap. You can buy like 10,000 of them for like $30. You go in a yard and you stick them in the ground in the yard. And that means someone has to come and pick them up. Every single fucking one of them. And they're a lot easier and a lot more fun to stick in a yard in the dead of night.
I don't buy this. I bet it's an equal amount of effort to put them in.
Yes, but you're like a laughing 13-year-old. So you're like,
we're low to the ground, Woody. We're having to get on our hands and knees and like stab the ground rapidly with handfuls of these things.
And you're 13, you have nothing to do. There's no opportunity cost for time. You don't have anything better to do.
There are adults who will have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And we throw fireworks a lot. We'd get a big roll of fireworks, like the ones that pow, 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 and they like roll them up into like a cylinder, and we'd sit that on a doorstep. And sometimes you take a cigarette, use that as a fuse. You smoke the cigarette a little bit and tear the butt off and stick the cigarette burning onto the fuse, right? That gives you like 45 seconds if you understand how cigarettes work. Back then, they hadn't changed the paper yet. Can't do that now. The paper stops burning. They did that so people wouldn't burn themselves alive in their beds. But anyway, you're all the way sprinted back to your car parked down the road right as you hear... and it just roars because it's 500 fireworks going off on someone's doorstep. You like to get up to mischief.
Kyle's 11 years old with a cigarette.
I'm 16 at this point. This is a 16 or 17-year-old story. I would say.
More mean-spirited prank I remember that I didn't do, but I knew friends who did this at least a few times. Is they would duct tape cars, and it's not what you think. You wouldn't put the duct tape on the cars. You'd take giant strips of duct tape and you'd lay them sticky side up across the road, and then when people drive across the duct tape, it sticks to their wheels, and inside the car it sounds like It's just super, super fucking loud. And then some poor asshole has to go up there fishing, that texture of duct tape that's so compressed it's become rock, like that kind, trying to pick that out of there. But I always thought that was too mean-spirited. So I stuck to tackling Christmas ornaments and things that weren't like action.
What is tackling a Christmas ornament?
Like those big inflatable Christmas men or Santa Claus, like that would just be enormous things. As we would just drive around and jump out of cars and go and tackle those. Get in a 3-point stance. Make it take a while if it's funnier. Because all this stuff, when you're 16, this stuff is hysterical. Tackling somebody else's property.
So many old memories. All right, so as far as
with bats and breaking people's pumpkins on their doorsteps late that night, where one of my friends was either was being retarded and was going around with a bat smashing people's pumpkins on their front stoops, which is fine. It was after Halloween. The pumpkins were needed no more. But there was a tin pumpkin that was used to keep a big candle in, and he smashed that thing with a bat and made the most resounding, just bang, like a gong, summoning all the adults to wake and see the mischief we had wrought on their front porches. But but at the time,
bringing up so many memories to me. Like you mentioned duct tape in the car. We saran wrapped the same guy's car who we would also egg and tomato and firework. And because one of my friends, his mom had a business where they did screen printing and a bunch of other stuff. And she had that device that has plastic wrap on it on a handle, and you can quickly wrap something. And so you get two guys and you go end over end of the car, like not long ways, but around the doors. You saran wrap the front door and the passenger door to the roof and undercarriage of the car, under and around and over, and you just stick a whole roll on there. They can't get in the fucking car without carefully razor blading it off.
It's lots of these pranks are just ways to waste small amounts of others' time.
And our time as well. We would never use bats to smash pumpkins. We would use, and at first we started smashing mailboxes with bats, out the window of the car. And I can remember I was always the driver.
We didn't do that. That's a crime.
It is a crime, but stick with me here. So I'd drive, and Scott would, he'd hit these mailboxes with a wooden bat, by the way. Always use a wooden bat, more mass. And it's just thunk, thunk, thunk. And then, there's a cedar one. Bah! And then, here comes a good one. And I could still remember the noise. It went, dong! He had hit a solid steel mailbox going 45 miles an hour. With both hands gripping, and when he came back in, he had dropped the bat, and he just went, "Oh!" I was like, "You dropped my bat." He's like, "Fuck the bat! I think I got nerve damage." and so from then on after, we lost the bats, and we started doing, we got to a point in high school where physics was being taught, I suppose, and we were like, "Wait a minute, the car is going 45. That means we're going 45. That means this rock is going 45, and we'd hurl boat ramps 45 miles an hour. And when you hit a mailbox with that rock going 45 miles an hour, and I mean a rock bigger than your head, we go down the boat ramps.
I don't know what I was expecting when you started to lead into that saying, and by that time we were learning physics and science.
Yeah.
Were you going to set up a pulley system or some fulcrums? No. We learned that rocks thrown from fast-moving vehicles continue quickly.
Got that polonium. No, these mailboxes would fucking explode when this piece of granite that weighed 15, 20 pounds hit them at 45, 50 miles an hour. And after a while, we had our lead down perfectly. So it was just like shooting a bird with a shotgun. It might look like, he's moving fast, but it's but I'm going to aim 4 feet in front of him. Boom! And every mailbox we wanted would explode. And we kept going faster and faster and faster until we got to the point where we go 70 miles an hour and fucking hit a mailbox with that rock. And it's something to be seen. When a boulder hits something at 70 miles, it's like a cannonball. We had a lot of fun.
Seems like a prank that you really can only do once every maybe couple of years, since people have to replace those mailboxes.
Because I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations is up. We did that shit every fucking night, and we kept score on a marker board hung from my air conditioner vent on a marker board. I would fill the whole floorboard up with these rocks, and we would go out in the middle of nowhere where there weren't likely to be patrols or anything, and if someone did report us, we'd be gone. We'd hit an area and then we'd go to a new county. We hit so many mailboxes.